Welcome to the GreatBase Tennis Podcast. I'm Steve Smith along with Melanie Zampardo. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you so much for having me.
Great to have you on as a guest. Right away, I saw that Zampardo and started calling her Zamboni. And she's from Michigan. We're going to wrap up her summer of 2024 internship. Tell us how you got connected with being up here at Wintergreen Resort.
I'm so lucky to be here.
I paid her to say that. Go ahead.
No, really, it's beautiful, and I've learned so much. It's been such an incredible experience. First of all, that I'm so grateful for. But my younger sister, she committed to NC State, and she went the summer before. That's what they have them do. They have them go the summer before and train and learn the lingo. And so Maddie was there the summer before her freshman year. She came home after a couple weeks with some surface level information that they introduced to her. We hit a couple times. She tried to teach me some things. She basically just tried telling me things that she was told. And our different personalities, I was questioning it. I was, well, why this? Why that? She was like, yeah, I don't know. You just do it. It's just the better way. That's just how you do it. You just listen and you do it. And I was like, well, I don't know. So I got really excited to take the opportunity because my mom and I were taking her to hard courts in August, and I knew that her coaches were going to be there. So I took my opportunity. I was super nervous. I wrote down a bunch of questions so I'd have something prepared to talk with them. I knew I wanted to get into college coaching, and so I talked with Dave Secker a lot of the tournament. He was amazing. He spoke with me. He answered my questions. He explained things that I've never even thought of. And essentially what he did is he referred me to the GreatBase website. He sent me a YouTube playlist of Tennis Intelligence Applied. He advised me to watch it. I started watching them. And then he put me into contact with you, Steve, and the rest is history. That's how I got here.
64 days. Actually, it was 69 days, but she went to a friend's wedding. She escaped for 5 days. With, yeah, we can talk more about Maddie, but let's go with Michigan. Show us where you're from in Michigan.
Right palm. I'm right here where the thumb creases. Right here at the bottom, Grosse Pointe, Michigan.
Grosse Pointe, Michigan. It's great to have your mom come and visit. There's a book, trying to think of the name of the comedian. Everything reminds me of something. I taught tennis at University Liggett High School. Mm-hmm. Tell us about University Liggett High School.
University Liggett. It's a special, special place. I loved that place. I loved my time there. I went there just for high school. So grade 9 through 12, but it's pre-K through 12. So you're in the same building with little 4 or 5-year-olds and all the way up through age 17, 18-year-olds who are getting ready to go off to college. So it's a really special experience that you get to have at Liggett. I got to go to school with my sister while she was in middle school, so that was really cool. Whenever we'd have breaks, we'd get to hang out or talk. Very small, so got to get very close with all my classmates. And it also gave me the opportunity to play other sports while playing tennis. So I loved my experience at Liggett.
The summer I ran a camp at University of Liggett. My kids were playing ice hockey, and I went to Toronto because they were so keen on hockey. They were very young, but they came back. They played Little Caesars. Both played for Little Caesars, and I know Grosse Pointe. In the summertime, they didn't have hockey, but they had a hockey rink. But it was the first summer that facility. There was like, how would you say it? Brand spanking new. Mm-hmm. The tennis facility.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that summer. But typically of indoor tennis, the gentleman who contracted the course had an indoor club. And many people that have an indoor club, they have a staff that leave for the outdoor season. Mm-hmm. From May to September, Memorial Day to Labor Day. And it works out for the owner of the indoor course because when the coaches come in from their summer gigs, as one would say, that they bring their students with them. But everybody's pretty much doing their own thing. Many, many memories with being in Michigan. Kalamazoo wasn't too far away. It was the best way to travel to Kalamazoo. Detroit Red Wings. I was there when they won the Stanley Cup. I was at the parade. I was there the year that Konstantinov, the day after The players were drinking a little champagne and partying, but it was a limo driver that shouldn't have been drinking. And one of the best defensemen ever, he was left disabled from that accident. It was amazing. The whole area, Greater Detroit, was just sky high. And then that accident happened.
Yeah, so tragic.
But that must have been, I'd have to think. I think mid to late 90s. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, and you show that video of your two sons skating on that ice rink that my sister and I grew up skating on as well. All my siblings and I.
Grosse Pointe, my mother used to sell real estate. I saw many listings. So many beautiful towns. But there's Grosse Pointe Farms, Grosse Pointe Woods, Grosse Pointe Park.
Grosse Pointe City and Grosse Pointe Farms, Woods, Shores, City, Park.
Shores. Yeah. All those beautiful homes. Amazing place with this outdoor rink. It wasn't natural ice. I mean, it was artificial. So it could be 40 degrees and you go skating, 45, 50 degrees. I mean, yeah.
Can't ask for anything better.
With, that's another subject with my kids at that time playing hockey, though. To me, watching young kids learn how to skate was a very enjoyable experience. Somebody who I studied under in Toronto, I just said, I'm going to study all the skating coaches. Yari Boriski, everybody look up Skate on Magic on YouTube. What amazing. And all these years later, he's very, very highly regarded, famous, I would say, because he's coached. So many of his players became NHLers. Tell us about, you played multiple sports at Liggett?
I did, yeah. So, I was lucky enough. I was able to play volleyball in the fall, basketball in the winter, and tennis in the spring. Our golf team was super small too, so I was actually able to play a season of golf during the tennis season. But I couldn't have had a more full experience at Liggett. It was just perfect. Volleyball, I enjoyed so much. Basketball, I loved it for the conditioning, but I just kept myself busy. And my senior year, fall, I actually got to play on the same team as Maddie for volleyball. That was before COVID canceled all the rest of the sports, but.
So tell us, when you graduated, what year was she?
I graduated 2020. I was a senior when she was a freshman, so she was class of 24, 23.
I hope your sister surpasses the most famous tennis player from the University of Liggett, Aaron Krickstein. Aaron Krickstein, I believe it was, he won Kalamazoo at 16 and he got to the third round of the U.S. Open. But he was a U.S. Davis Cup player. His father, Herb Krickstein, I remember being with the Davis Cup team in '85, and Arthur Ashe was the captain. Nick Baltieri was there. Robert Lansdorp, Herb Krickstein during all the rain delays. It was interesting. He was a wise man, and he was doing most of the coaching. I remember another tennis player, Susie Mascarin, who did quite well. But I always said that the kids that grew up in the Midwest, seems like they're more connected to sports because of the Big Ten.
I believe that.
Tell us about your sister. She's no short kid.
Somehow she took all the height. She's 6'1". I remember a time when I was a head taller than her, and then it feels like 5 minutes later she was a head taller than me.
I told her I coached a girl who became a very good player, Laura Hanna. She used to tell people she was 5'12".
Yeah, that's good.
So your sister's 5'13".
Yeah, her and her teammates, because she gets asked so often, how tall are you just out in public at grocery stores or whatever. She started, and then they always say, oh, do you play basketball or volleyball? And she says, no, gymnastics. So I thought that was good. I
was fortunate enough to see your sister play a match, University of Virginia. She, unfortunately, the team lost, but she won 7-6 in the third. Not easy to win at the University of Virginia. I think that's a claim to fame my youngest son would have. I don't think he ever lost a match playing against Virginia. And back in his day, they were and they're still way up there. I mean, he's here in recent years too. I know TCU won the men's this year, but the year before it was Virginia. With your sister, did she play just tennis, or Or maybe I should say, you said you played other sports, but did she get to the point where she just played tennis? She said, okay, this is my sport.
You know what really caused that was COVID. So yeah, she played basketball and volleyball as well all throughout middle school, and then we both started, like I said, on that volleyball team her freshman year, my senior year. And then she wasn't planning on playing basketball, but she did plan on playing high school tennis, which got canceled. And so since COVID kind of knocked out basketball season, and she wasn't really planning on playing playing basketball any further. That kind of just naturally ended her path of other sports. But she was fortunate enough to play for a long time other sports.
It's getting to the point where tennis kids, they haven't even played at the really early age groups, haven't played any sports. But you yourself, tell us about you. You also chose tennis.
Mm-hmm.
How'd that happen? I mean, you went to what, Wayne State, and then transferred to.
Yeah. So honestly, I think the way I chose tennis was because Maddie and I have always grown up so close and just doing the same things. And she was so in love with tennis, and we were always practicing together. So that was something that bonded us as well. And it was just something to do with her and something that I could help her with and she could help me with, and we could practice together and do together. So that's really the reason I think I fell so much in love with tennis. But in reality, I knew from playing other sports that I loved being on a team. So volleyball, basketball, I love the team dynamic of it, and we got to play like a couple team cup events, and they were like styled like college tennis, and those were the tournaments matches I played the best in, because I really love that team environment, team dynamic. So college tennis for me was amazing. It was super fun. Like I said, I went to college the year of 2020. So my freshman year was crazy. I committed in November of my senior year, so 2019, and I went in just in the heat of COVID. Our fall season was canceled. I was told or I wasn't told, I guess I made the choice to stay at home because Wayne State was only 15, 20 minutes from my house, and everything was shut down. Classes were online, apartment buildings were shut down, masks everywhere. It was just crazy. So I stayed at home, and by the second year, I realized that wasn't the college experience I was looking for. I mean, our practices were getting canceled. We were being tested 6 times a week at one point. We were practicing in masks outside. It was crazy. And so I realized that I needed to move on and find something where I could find some place where I could get a better college experience, the one that I was looking for. And I was so fortunate to come across Hillsdale College. Coach Nikki Walbright brought me in. She's amazing. She's actually part of the reason that I decided that I wanted to get into college coaching. She's just such an inspiration, and she has the family dynamic and creates such an amazing team culture with all of us. Just made it such a great experience. So that's how I ended up at Hillsdale.
During COVID, a group of us were in Florida. We had a bubble before people knew what a bubble was. 4 or 5 miles from the national campus. Named the street Happy Lane. Yeah, we had 10 acres of fence around this 10-acre property. People built the property to host weddings. It didn't really work out for them, but it was a big place. It had 6,000 square feet. And we converted a 3-car garage into a gym, had a swimming pool. We had a dozen bicycles, bike trails, running trails, tennis courts, backboard. So we had it all, but we were just telling the parents, you're either in or out. And, some people were there, the entire time. It was very good for their tennis, but I just think of COVID. It just seems like it's been a long time in some ways, but it was like a movie. It was just really happening.
It was crazy.
So yeah, it's interesting. Tell us more about Hillsdale College. How big is it, and how many students, and do they have a grad program?
Yeah, Hillsdale College is a special place. It's very unique. I didn't look at Hillsdale in high school to go to because it was too small. I actually wouldn't look at some other schools that were bigger than Hillsdale because they were too small. Hillsdale student population of about 1,400 students, so it's smaller than a lot of kids' high schools that they went to. It's a Christian conservative school.
I thought it was filled with radical liberals.
No.
Actually, my father would say about my father, he thought the Minutemen should have been there 59 seconds. But no, it has it's well known for its, its values, its principles, traditional values. It's pretty much, to me, when I hear about it, and there's not many places like that left, but it's a throwback.
It is. And that kind of thing turns a lot of people away from it and kind of freaks them out. But in reality, when you're at Hillsdale, you're not thinking about all that stuff. You're really just having normal conversations, normal day to day. It's not like it's all in your face. We're small, and you know a lot of people. You see a lot of the same people every day, but at the same time, I'm seeing new faces all the time, and I'm able to just interact with people who want to have intellectual conversations and just conversations that mean something.
So the typical student is not going, I left my cigarettes at the bar.
No, there's one bar in Hillsdale City, one bar.
Low to high, swallow through 12-ounce curls. Do they have a grad program?
I think they have a politics grad program, and I think they're adding an education grad program, but don't quote me on that.
But you're going back, your eligibility's done, but you're going back to finish your degree, undergraduate degree. What's that going to be in?
Exercise science.
And what you're going to be assistant coach?
So I'm going into my 5th year, transferring from Wayne State and going to Hillsdale. The core curriculum is pretty extensive, so I'm taking my 4 years at Hillsdale College, but my eligibility, like you said, is up. So I managed to somehow get an assistant coaching gig, so I'll still be involved with the team. I'll be able to use the knowledge that I've learned this summer and during practices and matches, and I'm just super excited to continue to work with the girls. Most of them I was on the team with last year. I was a player with them, so it's going to be kind of an interesting dynamic, but one that I'm super excited to learn how to navigate.
Yeah, we can circle back and talk to you. I know I just made some suggestions when you go back. Someone's, for example, they're entering their senior year, and what do you have them do? What do you not have them do? But let's go with your internship. We hope through these podcasts to give value. I think day 1 you come in, maybe by day 2 we film you, and why don't you just start from there?
Yeah. So
came in May, right?
I did the end of May. So I got here on May 29th, late at night. It was a super long day of travel, like over 12 hours, and little did I know that would set the tone for the rest of my time here. Long days. Let's see, I was filmed the very first, like you said, right when I got here. And I was super impressed by an 11-year-old girl who was here. It was only a couple people here, and she was demonstrating the technique left-handed, and I was just super impressed by how well she was able to teach and how well she was able to do it with her non-dominant hand.
Who's that?
Cami.
Oh, Cami Clare, daughter of Matt and Lauren Clare.
Yeah, she's great. But yeah, and then immediately the next day we went to NC State for a workshop, which was honestly a very nice, felt like crash course just to introduce everything that I would be getting into this summer. And then came back from that, and I was asking questions to a 6-year-old about my technique. That's Ronan. And
Michigander.
Yeah. So I was having a 6-year-old correct my technique and asking him questions. So that was also something I was super amazed by. And at the workshop, just seeing all the demos and everything, I was super impressed by just the aesthetics of the strokes. Everything just looked so clean, and everyone was doing the same thing. And I've never ever seen technique look the same between multiple people. And it's just something that looks so nice, and it's something that really got me on board with wanting to change everything and just start from scratch.
Well, it comes up on the podcast, our criticism. To avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing. People say, well, you're teaching everyone the same. Well, fundamentals are fundamentals, just to teach the basics. We always say the strength of the individuality will always come out. But yeah, NC State, they've hosted. Thank you. Just recent months, we've gone there twice. I think the magic number was 48 people. So that's where you definitely have to have a whistle. It's like, here we go, all different levels, all different ages. And actually, we're going to go to Baylor at the end of this month to do another workshop. We're doing that one differently. The first 2 days, we'll be teaching people how to teach. Peer teaching with what we do is, a cornerstone. It's very powerful. Double the learning. As you said, you have a 6-year-old or 11-year-old be helping you out. Show and tell. You have to show people first. Today, we had a young 8-year-old from Connecticut helping a coach from Brazil. Show him first, and then he does it. But then, you stand in front of him, and then you stand behind them. And it's a little humbling at first.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's amazing to see though, and it just proves that young kids are capable of so much more than honestly we give them credit for. There've been a lot of young kids come here and they have a really great handle on the technique and the information. It's just something that I never would have expected to see. But yeah, then once we got back from the workshop, we came into the video room. I kind of came here expecting to just have everything torn apart. So because I'd started the courses and the podcast, and I realized how much I didn't know, and I think you could have been a little bit rougher on me in the video room, to be honest. But yeah, definitely realized a lot of things seeing myself up on that screen.
Yeah, we went back and we filmed you today. Post video. So we looked at the video from 2 months ago. 2 months ago, and I said I forgot that your toss came down with icicles on it.
Yeah.
Pretty high toss. With, the video room to film people. Talked to a few people today. Do they really know what they're getting into? So we don't solicit. We're not, even with what we do, we're not really advertising. But it's kind of like check your ego at the door. You start showing people not only technically, but tactically what they do. Coming back to the young kids, something we share all the time of Bradenism is don't underestimate the capacity of the learner. The KISS method, keep it simple, kids stupid. Really in the end, should your swing go like a Ferris wheel or a merry-go-round? If it goes like a Ferris wheel, the ball rotates like a bicycle tire. It goes like the merry-go-round, it goes like a Frisbee. But yeah, I remember telling you to come here, and in coming here, unlike most places, I said, no, you won't be tied to a ball basket. You really have to be a student first. And so at most places, I was like, okay, here's your court, here's your basket, go feed, forehands across the baseline.
Right.
And now we'll go backhands across the baseline. Again, no orientation. There's a lot to be said for feeding balls and putting people through drills. But we do a lot of solo drills, a lot of partner drills. So it's not your typical, it's certainly not the industry norm. But, actually calculating, I think time is very interesting to reflect. So you really here for 9 weeks, 64 days. A semester is 16 weeks. So we had this program that was for 2 years. And so when I started training a coach, I'd say, well, really, it's like you're a college freshman. Even if someone comes in and, like yourself, you played college tennis and you're certainly not a freshman. You have much more experience in that, but that's like, okay, day one, it's like, okay, we have to go back to the starting blocks and how do we line up with a lot of students coming in, case studies. Like there's a young boy here, Sasha, this week. He comes to my mind because, and there's been others for sure, where they come in for the first time. Much different if they come in for the first time, but we've had students, I think of Spencer Johnson, who was a guest just last week. So I've known him 10 plus years. But we have several students that we've known for, say, 5 years. It's a big difference if you've known somebody for 5 years, if you've known them for for 5 days. So the group dynamics to make that all work. With going back to your team, is it you're going to be with the men's team and the women's team?
Just the women's. I'm sure I'll be helping out with the men's as well, but they have a separate coach. And they've got like volunteer assistants as well. So
I know before you decided to say, okay, I'll come and do this internship. Dave Secker had recommended you, and I said, well, I think interviews should be two-way streets, and I gave you the name of 3 college coaches. One being Chad Berryhill, and Chad tells people that you really have to be here 2 years to really have a solid understanding on what goes on. He was with us for 5 years. With where to go with that? The college team, skill testing. I know when you first got here, there besides Matt and Lauren, Clora's daughter Cammie, there's a girl here from Baylor University.
right.
Lauren Little, right?
Yeah.
You
I
pronounce
think it
it?
might be Littell.
Littell. Lauren Littell?
Littell, yeah.
She changed it?
Yeah, I guess recently.
She changed it. What a great kid. But she, in day one, I want to tell the people how she passed the tiebreaker, not the tiebreaker test, but the set test.
Yeah, so she was getting very frustrated with that tiebreaker test, playing it to a set. I believe she played it all day, though, and she beat it in that one day.
That was pretty impressive.
Getting frustrated, but also just very competitive with it and just wanted to beat it.
So what she had to do is get her serve in. If she missed her one and only serve, she's down to love 15. And we were just courtesy feeds, too. And she just had to get the ball over the service line. And I'd have to reflect back, we teach people to angle the volley when they're first going through the tiebreaker version, but the set version is the same, except for you have to hit a serve, and we keep score. And when people first do that, they're just shocked that they lose 6 love. Now I know that after she passed the first day and she felt really accomplished, which was great. I said, well, tomorrow we'll have to just now put the line between the service line and the baseline. And what people call a dead ball feed is not a live ball. You just feed the ball. They have to hit a cross court forehand deep. And if they miss that, another loss of point. And the feeder's not really making unforced errors.
Yeah, level 2.
But then to do it level 3, now we have pickleball nets that are in the back. Say, okay, the ball has to bounce in the service box, go over the pickleball net that's against the fence, and then you crank the ball to them. I always say Robert Lansdorp, Harry Hopman style.
Have you ever had a student pass level 3? I'm sure.
I'd have to stop and think. I've had people pass that test as a tiebreaker. But as a set, I'd have to say, have to stop and think about that. Spencer Johnson, you fed to both players. Spencer's it was a breeze for him to pass tiebreaker test 1 or doing it to a set, but not the second one.
Right.
Especially if you tell people, again, Andy Fitzell added that to it, volley deep or the service line. And, first, and tactically, basically what you should do is hit the first volley deep, close it in, then you can angle the second ball. But from a technical standpoint, if you have to hit the ground strokes, the approach shot, and the volleys deep, a lot of people panic on that first volley, singles or doubles. If you can make one volley, singles or doubles, your chances to win the point just jumps up sky high. But going back to you returning to the team, I certainly would recommend skill testing. I would recommend stats and charting, basics, strategic concepts. But for yourself, what I would recommend is to be careful unless they have freshmen or not in the lineup. They have project players. To take someone who's, like a senior, as I said earlier, and they're in the lineup and you're going, okay, let's start to tinker with your game. And, who knows, they might be deep into lab sciences and just have all sorts of time constraints academically. um, years ago, we say it all the time in this podcast, is that when you were a freshman in college, you couldn't play. You had to take a developmental year. Stan Smith, Arthur Ashe, worked out okay for them. U.S. Open, Wimbledon champions. But that's really not the case now. At the highest level in college tennis, it's just backwards, where kids are being wined and dined, and they can come and join the team in January and start playing matches. I think one thing you could share is how the different levels, how do we interface the different levels? When we have kids here from, just had a little girl named Mia. What an amazing student for just being here for a few days.
Yeah, she was crazy athletic, very small, little 9-year-old.
7, I think.
7.
I think I think 7. I'm wrong all day, but but interfacing players, like say having a kid who's going off to represent the U.S. in the 14s, or someone who's playing major college tennis, say your sister, and we just make it work. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think your group dynamic skills are amazing to observe and learn from. And this summer, I've really learned that it doesn't matter the level of every player. Everyone can practice on the same court, whether you're tossing each other balls, whether you're drop feeding in the alley together, whether you're doing double hits and rallying. But one thing that you emphasize a lot is when a higher level player is playing with a younger player, less experienced player, it's their fault. If the less experienced player misses, they should be able to put the ball on a dime and control their pace, and it's improving their skills just as much as it is the younger player. They're able to have more exposure to that higher level player, and it just works both ways, where each of them are able to work on their skills.
Yeah, I don't think we've done it here in recent days, but you can take, say, 3 or 4 experienced players. You can take the youngest kid that you're training and say, okay, you each get 2 tries. Could be 1 try. And whoever hits the most balls wins. Can they just put that ball right on a dime, put the ball right in the kid's strike zone? Well, we really harp on not being a tennis snob. We've had certainly siblings, like brother-sister combo, brother-brother, sister-sister. And will they practice with one another? And typically the older player doesn't think there's anything in it for them to practice with a younger player, but you need to hit tons and tons of balls. So if you have that same opportunity, going back to Hillsdale, that's okay. There's a walk-on, there's a project player. You can take them off to the side, and but you think you have to really pick your spots on saying, okay, we're going to do technical analysis. That's where, if there's a club team, or if there's a way that you can have sororities or fraternities or special interest groups come and watch matches. Hey, yeah. I'd like to have you come and support the team. But I think also with your players, we talked about this, is I would make it optional and say, okay, maybe it's a Sunday evening or whenever that they have time, and say, those of you who like to learn how to teach, and perhaps you'd like to use tennis as a supplemental income. Maybe you're going to take a year off between undergrad, grad, whatever the situation is. I think everyone really should learn to teach. Everyone should learn to give back. They shouldn't just be takers. But I think if you present it that way, I go places and say, first of all, let's just talk about the game, instead of like, well, what about my game? And people panic. So, many times we'll have, if we have 5 kids come on one day, we'll film everybody. And it's not like we can go straight to the video room with all 5.
Right.
Oh, we could. We'd say, okay, let's go out. We'll do the forehand side with every player. So there's a lot of variables to juggle with. But the same thing with anything: awareness, acceptance, commitment, but to make people aware. One other thing that you can take the knowledge base and use it to scout players. And someone know what a reset swing is, or what the tendencies of someone with an open racket face on a ground stroke. Or they're going to be better going down the line, better going cross court. Reading the angle of the racket face when they're up at the net. instead of, telling them about their game, well, don't be afraid to hit a high defensive lob because the player you're playing has a palm up overhead.
And that's something I look forward to doing. Now that I see some things now, I'm looking forward to going out, scouting players, and just improving my eye, practicing being able to see those things and applying what can be used against those players to best point out their weaknesses and isolate those things.
I think one thing that's exciting is that you can connect with your sister. She should be sending you film, and then there's a language that you've taken a deep dive into this, and what's happened with me many times. I think this program I ran where you could get a 2-year degree. Many of the students we trained for 2 years, they would leave and they would go work for someone, and they say, no, you don't keep your left hand on your racket on the overhead. You have to point your left finger. You put your racket in this position, and then it's like, well, this is my boss. This is how we teach. And they weren't really fortunate to have their experience match their education. At one time in Michigan, I was on the advisory board for Ferris State. Chad Berryhill went back. He was a grad of Ferris State, or is a grad of Ferris State, and he was a men's coach, men's and women's coach. And at that time, their enrollment was very small. Derek Emile was the director. And I remember telling Chad, what I would recommend is they stay every summer, the first summer, and work for you at the camp. And because the number was very small, I mean, they were down to like 25 students. And I said, I'm very confident that I could place all 25 students with somebody who was really well-trained to teach tennis. But one of the frustrating things was that the interns, that they thought the best internship was where they would make the most money.
Right.
They go to a country club, and Chad Berryhill himself actually, he had the opportunity to work for Dave Nostrand, who I trained to teach tennis, who ran a Vic Braden tennis school in Utah for the longest time. And Chad turned that down. It wasn't just because it wasn't as much money, but it was also housing and everything that went with that. It's not so easy to say, okay, well, I'm going to take a summer job. Where am I going to live, and how am I going to commute? How am I going to get from point A to point B, and just all the logistics.
Yeah, no, I'm a big Chad Berryhill fan. But exactly, it's not all about, obviously, my parents are still supporting me right now, but it's not all about the most money. I can get an internship because this has been the most full experience I can say I've ever had. It's so well-rounded, and I'm just immersed into it every single day. And when I go home, I'm immersed into it still. I'm studying. I can definitely say I've never studied for a class or spent as much time on content as I have with the GreatBase this summer. But it's been an amazing learning experience. I'm so thankful that I'm in my early 20s getting this experience, and it's not even later down the road, because I grew up and I played my whole junior career, my whole college career, all of tennis, just with poor information, no information, and different coaches having their own opinions. And then I come here and there's fact there. Of course, there's physics and math and geometry in tennis. It exists in every other sport. Why wouldn't there be one most efficient swing on the forehand and the backhand? It just makes sense. And the more time I spend in it, the more it makes sense.
Yeah, I think actually there's a positive and a negative. There's a negative and a positive, but the fact that, just that initial film, but then that, you and your sister put a lot of hours in where it was guesswork. It wasn't really, there wasn't the scientific, logical rationale. That happens all the time. Today, we were doing video, and there's a young girl here from Connecticut, 8 years old, and I said, okay, go out there on the tee line and serves line, and drop it a forehand on balance, backhand on balance, underspin backhand balance, serve on balance. And then ask the group, and there is a 10-year-old boy here, his love is swimming, which is great, but Joey Johnson has taught him to play. He has very, very solid technique. But then to ask people, okay, did you have this handle on tennis when you were 8 years old? And when did you? And there's a girl here from Ohio that she's hitting the ball really well, and she's in a position where she's good enough to be able to play college tennis. She has one more year in high school, and this is the first time I've met her in person. Met her via video, did video work with her. Brian Clark, Gary Alpert in Cincinnati has helped her out. And, it's like, when were you introduced to this information? Actually, the last several days sitting with you and others, I've been watching the Olympics. And basically, internship you've done from A to Z. It wasn't like, okay, we need you on the court feeding balls. This is your group. We don't really do groups. We work it around where, at the end of the day, it needs to be a win-win. It's not a matter of just working on technique. People need movement, and they need the physicality, and they need to play points. But the gopher, I was the gopher. Watching the Olympics, with Gideon Ariel and Vic Braden, I was the gopher. Go for this and go for that. So just the other day, unfortunately, boy had to go to the hospital. So for yourself we're up here in the mountains, so it's 25 minutes, 30 minutes to civilization. I told Melanie, you're going to be able to escape. You're going to be able to go to Chipotle. There is no Chipotle at Wintergreen. We have the one country store, the market, they call it. I took a girl from LA who was here a couple of times, pulled up and said, hey, welcome to downtown. There's no church, there's no village, there's no school. It's just a tennis facility in the mountains.
Beautiful views.
But Evelyn Ashford, she was the number one sprinter. She won the gold. She won the 100 meters in 84. What's so funny is that she ran 40 yards. And then I remember Vic and Gideon said, that'd be great, Evelyn, if you'd run one more. She was very polite. She goes, I didn't know I had to run two. And it took close to an hour for her to get ready to run another 40 yards. And Vic Braden said, I would have just had another donut. And before we came over, we were watching the hurdles. Just some of these things. Edwin Moses, actually, we have a couple Braden coaches coming this week, Mike Valentine and Mike McLaughlin. That'll be fun. You're going to miss them, unfortunately. So, but Moses, back in the day, hurdlers thought they had to just extend that leg as far as possible and go as far over the hurdle as possible. But with Moses, and he wanted to keep it a secret, he was undefeated forever. As Gideon Ariel said, no, you want to barely get over the hurdle, because then when you land, your center of gravity, you can just launch yourself again. So there's just so many things. The pole vault.
Yeah, the Olympics have been amazing to watch. Swimming, we've watched it all. 10,000 meters.
Yeah, I think it was good to run 10,000 meters and then everybody do the 12-minute run. The kid on the pole vault, no substitute for good beginning. The volume, people just don't understand. It's like you can get really good at this game, but I think there's a lot to be said about not comparing yourself to the best players in the world. Just get better. Just run your own race. It's just you. No, but the young kid, he's competing for Sweden. His mother's Swedish, but he grew up in Lafayette, Louisiana. Same town as Shonda Rubin. And I remember that because I had a student lose to a girl from Lafayette, Louisiana. I go, whoa. Small town, but with Shonda Rubin, and our player was a little bit older. But they show him with a broom, and he's running with a broom, and he's just, like a toddler, and he's jumping into the couch. But to get that image at such an early age to want to be great. I think the balance beam, the commentator said that
it's a contact sport.
He said it's a contact sport, and I said, no, it's a collision sport. They're like, boom. They bounce right up, and that's one thing that tennis players should learn from. Tennis, people can just self-destruct every 20 seconds. And, I think of somebody making a bad pass in basketball, soccer. in soccer, I mean, they do go overboard trying to get the red card, but you know, your basketball pass is intercepted. You got to quickly just Charlie hustle and go from offense to defense. But tennis kids don't do that.
Same way the other way. I had a coach who would yell at anyone if they celebrated after making a basket. He's like, "You're not celebrating that shot. We're still playing. Get on defense."
Yeah. There's a hockey coach, Quinnipiac, and it's every 43rd time that they back check. If you're, the other team is advancing the puck in the other direction, but you back check. And forecheck is when you're offensively in the other team's end, but they're coming towards your end. And it has it down scientifically or statistically, every 43rd time there's going to be a turnover that goes our way. So there's no time to celebrate. But that's what kids, they do. They put themselves on an emotional roller coaster. The volleyball is from the Olympics. At the Vic Braden Tennis College, 1980, the U.S. team, Flo Hyman, they were training to go to Moscow. But the Americans boycotted the 1980 Olympics because the Russians were in Afghanistan. And they did take a young gal who had the height of your sister. So she's a walk-on, and they made her an Olympian. They made her just transform this girl into a world-class volleyball player. But my idea of volleyball was, what we used to do in PE class, but seeing these women diving on the floor. But Braden was involved in so many things. One time I was helping Vic Oldfield. I'd have to have our fact checker look it up. Oldfield had the best. He was the world's best in the shot put. And 60 Minutes was coming in. And a lot of times 60 Minutes, they send a crew in the week before. And I was young. I mean, I was maybe I was 23 years old. And I'm loading slides in what they would call a carousel. And this guy's doing the ritual. And we were all busy. And I said, Vic, you want me to put in just like one before he actually goes into the rotation? He goes, no, put them all in. And I just remember this crew came in, and it was just one slide. It was like 20 slides of this guy just waiting before he started. But yeah, Vic worked with Olympic athletes with getting aerial, and it's just a flashback to just see the Olympics. We're always trying to help people with the running technique, and when we say pick up the balls 3-and-3, run like an Olympian. But yeah, there's all those things that you can add. You could make a list of things that you could bring into a tennis culture. Will there be project players at your school?
So, unfortunately, we are down to 7 on our team. So pretty much everyone is a lineup player. One thing is we have a tennis class, so you can take a 1-credit tennis class. And last year I was involved with helping our head coach teach it and run it. So this year I'm sure I'll be able to have that opportunity again. And that's one way I can continue teaching and just being involved with the information. But I'll also I believe I'll be able to run individuals and stuff like that. So on the team. So yeah, I have definitely opportunities, but not a ton of opportunities, like you said, to bring in a lot of the technical aspects of the game.
Well, one thing is you want to work the information yourself. Even if it's teaching the managers, student assistants, everything from running a community clinic. You have your own indoor-outdoor, right?
We do.
Yeah, so community clinic. I think you really have to ask for volunteers. And if you just can get one, that's a success. If we could just have one more person learn how to teach the game better. Are there PE classes?
PE classes, no, but there are like I said, those 1-credit tennis classes, squash, racquetball. I think there's a volleyball class. There's pickleball. There's a bunch of those activity classes that people can take for 1 credit.
Well, I'm sure that there's a big demand on the courts, the indoor courts. Winters are long.
Winters are long, and it's also an indoor track, so there are a lot of walkers. Our indoor courts are spread pretty thin. There's like the frisbee club uses them. In the winter, the football team actually uses them for their fitness testing. There's the club team. Yeah, those courts are used by many.
With post Hillsdale, what do you think you're gonna? Or I mean, what would you like to do? I mean, coach college tennis, but I mean, there's so many things. Would you want to coach at a certain level? Would you want to try to be a head coach right away? Would you want to be an assistant coach?
So I want to continue to learn. I want to definitely don't want to be a head coach right away because I want to be able to have people that I can continue to learn from and look up to, building the team culture, and ideally someone who I can continue speaking with about the information and learning about the GreatBase even more, and being more involved with it. I would love to go to grad school and have a graduate assistant position. I would love to go take my turn at a big D1 school. I think that would be a great experience, just the hustle and bustle, and um, being able to see things that I've never seen before, and have information to offer. I think that's one thing that this summer has given me. It's given me the confidence that I I can learn so much, and I can have that to give to other people and to share with them and to help them on court and off court. Um, and I just want to continue learning. I mean, I think at this point I can definitely say I'm a student of the game, and once you start to see things and you start to understand things, it just has gotten me to want to learn even more and to see even more. And especially with the GreatBase, you guys have lots of treasure chests in different places. There's endless hours of content, and I get excited every day just to learn more and to dive into something new.
With grad school, what would you want to get as a graduate degree?
I think I would try to pursue something in like sports management or management in general. Um, something that would help me with the more logistics side of things, because I do want to be a head coach at some point in my career.
With my background, I spent 10 years at one junior college and 15 at another. Tyler Junior College, I was there throughout the 80s, and I ran a tennis teaching program. We get a degree, then 15 years at Hillsdale Community College, where I ran a co-op, ran a tennis school. Been around so many different professors. When I started at Tyler Junior College, 80% of the faculty were full-time. By the time I left, 80% were adjunct, another part-time. There's a lot to be said about it. You have a part-time instructor who's in the real world. Maybe they're running their own business, and you just never know what you're going to learn from as you go through academia, what teachers you have. But it's really changed here in recent times, where now most of the D1 schools, definitely the ones with the big football programs, they have 3 paid coaches. It was not just a couple of years ago. It was a volunteer coach. And so my point would, or I guess my question is, what do you think is better, to work on a graduate degree part-time or just go full-time?
I think full time. I could manage doing full time as a student, and also put my everything into being on court and coaching, and doing the assistant position as well.
Tennis is certainly different. I know a lot of business people would say, well, you'd be better off to work for a couple of years and then go get your MBA, that type of thing. But with, I've had, the term wasn't grad assistants, but I've had lab instructors. I've had student assistants where they got to live in the dorm for free, get to eat in the cafeteria for free. They got a tuition waiver. This was at Tyler Junior College at University of Texas at Tyler. And it was always with the dorm mother, that was a term at the time, really put them to work. In other words, if they could, like, is that going to be another job itself? And so many times it's like so much work. Um,
So what are your thoughts on going full time versus part time?
well, I think it's case study. I think it's every situation is different, but um, I would if I had to pick one, I would say to chip away at it. You know, take one class a semester. Um, and there's always the summer. There's always the summer um, because it's so um, time consuming to be a coach.
Mhm.
So time consuming, especially if you're involved in recruiting, you have to travel. But I think just to chip away at it, and I would recommend to we use the term great base is um, you want to certainly be in a situation where someone will allow you to bring what you've already acquired to the table.
Right.
Many situations in tennis, um, you're going to go in and it's like, no, that's not what we do. This is what we do. And it's like, will they respect, will they honor, what you've done? I think with, I've got down here a couple thoughts where, maybe you've already done this, but some of the books, like say, for example, to get a copy of Tennis for the Future or Tennis 2000, people think, well, it's just hero worship. They're always talking about Vic Braden. But if you really were to study that book, it's science. It's all, okay, 19.1 degrees, 24.2, just so much tennis math. And, people really know tennis. You listen to commentators on TV. It's okay, that was insightful. Um, say, for example, I don't think that junior tennis players should play the I formation. I was very disappointed being at the Division III Nationals, watching the men. They're all banging serves, and every last team's playing I formation. And, the person at the net, guys slapping a serve with their Babolat racket. And the guys up at the net, they're the cleanup guy. And, no, I think young kids should learn to serve and volley and play conventional doubles. Just like with anything, you can have people run around their backhand and hit a forehand. Certainly, if it's in the offensive area of the backcourt, balls at waist level. But don't start running around your backhand if you don't even have a backhand.
Exactly.
So there's just no logic. But I think that would be able to share with a head coach what you think you'd bring to the table. I think a negative with team tennis, coaches, we've heard that, okay, coaches are creatures of habit, and that's why these myths just keep resurfacing and resurfacing. My coach told me this, and this is how I was taught when I was a kid. So this is how I was taught, so I'm going to teach the same way. But I think most college teams, and perhaps it's circumstantial because of the finances, the budget, do they really have the money for a third coach? But what they do is they hire somebody who played on the team.
Mhm.
And, if you're hiring somebody who played on the team, and that's their only experience. So they show up when they're 18 years old, they play at the university for 4 years, and now they're going to coach. They don't have too many other diversified experiences. David Benjamin, for a long time, he was in charge of the Intercollegiate Tennis Association. I think he even was the founder. And along with Dave Fish, who was at Harvard forever, Dave he used our curriculum for his camp at Harvard. And long story short, I ended up going to the NCAAs to meet with David Benjamin in Tulsa. And a lot of times camps are just an experience. The coach, is the coach really that interested in the camp? To me, I think the team in the camp should really be one and the same. A forehand's a forehand. But I always remember that Dave Benjamin said, really, in college tennis, assistant coaches need training. And a lot of times, just like in club tennis, there's no orientation. They just, next thing you know, they're just a coach. I mean, a lot of these young kids, I know my son Connor was offered a job at a very impressive university where he didn't even apply. He's got a sense of humor. He'd be good in the locker room. He had a successful playing career. Just hired as a coach. I don't think they were thinking that he was going to bring any knowledge from his training through our system of systems.
No, and I think a team should be very uniform in the sense that both coaches are on the same page. There's the ability to have a common common language between all the players and the coaches, so that they can say something and it's just understood between everybody. I think it just creates a better culture overall.
With back to your sister, 1 year at a time at her aspirations. So we tell juniors all the time. So, we mentioned we had a few college tennis players here this summer. And with that, we tell the juniors, okay, these players are where we want to go. We have a lot of kids that come here, they aspire to play college tennis. But say with your sister to play pro tennis, be interesting to, okay, what will that, how will that journey unfold? With that, what are your thoughts on Diana Schneider?
Diana Schneider, what an incredible run she's been on lately. Winning silver at the Olympics, right?
Silver and doubles, yeah.
Couple of titles here and there. She's been doing amazing. I think it was really awesome that she got to spend some time at NC State. And I know my sister wishes that she could have overlapped with her for a year. But no, she's doing big things. She's got a huge forehand. Recently saw a video of her working on making circles with her backhand. So working on that technique.
I know Andy Fitzell was only with her for, I think, a little over 2 months, and there's a lot. Andy has a lot of film. I would say she has the it thing. Mm-hmm. Our connection with her, someone who's been on our podcast, mom, who I, like yourself, did an internship, and all these years have gone by. So she's been around tennis. She was around it as a kid, I think, up to the age of 16. Natalia Sorokin, and she's very good friends. She's from Moscow, and she's very good friends with Diana Schneider's mother, the same age. So I was asked by Natalia, what do you think? And I said, why don't you send her to Dave Secker for 2 years? She was only there 1 year. Why don't you send her there and learn how to play from the service line in? And there's so many things to be said about her game, but the it thing, she wins. So it's like, whoa. I think certainly down the road, people will get a book on her, and one side's much stronger than the other, and the first serve and the second serve, and it can come and go, and but I think her having been at NC State for a year certainly would help your sister Maddie. Like, if she can do it, I can do it. Mm-hmm. With hopefully your sister would get a chance to practice with her. I mean, I think that's one thing that's really helped out European players over the years. I spent a lot of time in Sweden. All the Swedish players, they hang around the juniors, and they hit with the juniors, and they get that exposure just practicing with someone. I tell a story all the time. I told it earlier today, just to repeat it. 2 kids I worked with, one kid just for a short period of time, PJ Damdo from South Africa, and someone I worked with, from a really early age, Jeremy Wertzman. They both had wins over Andy Roddick. So this was like last year, 16 or maybe 17 years old. So Roddick, shortly after that, he wins the Orange Bowl and he wins the Eddie Herr. But Andre Agassi went through divorce, Brooke Shields, and then he says that he was stalking Steffi Graf. So he says, Agassi says he ends up in Boca, and who's the best junior in Boca at the time is Andy Roddick. So Andy Roddick starts taking sets in practice from Agassi. And shortly after that, he, it's like it was out of nowhere, he beat Sampras at the big tournament in Miami. Sampras did say, I'll get him back at the Open. He said, I'll get him back when it counts, which meant the Open, and he did. But no, I think just that opportunity to be around players. But no, I think that Dave Secker is the point person at this time, and I think there should be a brain trust. And with what David worked with her on with 9 months, and then Andy Fitzell, like all these players, they certainly need to continue to get better. Now the doubles, even though she was in the gold medal round, and I really think the kid that she played with too, Andreev, Yvonne's in the background. What's her first name? Mira Andreev. With thanks. She's what a breath of fresh air. She's so good. I mean, she's just 17, but this is okay. What she needs a little work on that overhead. You can just see when they start to play doubles. It's not. It's like with Taylor Fritz and Coco Gauff playing mixed. I mean, it's like, well, please. I mean, you get that type of serve off of, and Gauff can really serve well. But Taylor Fritz, that serve, and they're both staying back playing doubles. But that connection, there's so many stories. If you think you can, you can. The one I like probably the best is Michael Steek. In juniors, he was 8-8 against Becker, 2 Germans. I saw Michael Steek play in the 18s in a local tournament. Well, no, the state championships in Hamburg. I was coaching Christoph Mueller, who was in the 16s. So the 18s were on the front court, right in front of you, and one court over was the 16s. I'm going, this guy is good. He goes to college for 1 semester. That was in the fall of 1985. In the summer of 85, Becker wins Wimbledon. Steek comes home for the semester break and tells his parents, if Becker can win Wimbledon, I can make a living playing pro tennis. So he withdrew from the university. Then 5 years later, he beat Becker in the Wimbledon final. So that whole thing, if you think you can. So I think that's a magical, what would you call it? Talk about golden nuggets. That's a golden nugget for NC State. If they could have Diana Schneider, be on campus. The late Andy Brandy had Kathy Rinaldi on campus at the University of Florida. So that really helped him win national championships. Is he got a girl who's top 10 in the world, and she's coming back, and the coach is giving her a hard time, and this is what they're working on. Along the lines on doubles, I think this has to be said with stroke production. I have to yell in the background here again. Irani and what's the name of the Czech player with the palm up serve, Yvonne? Say it again. He pronounces the names much better than myself. They both have palm up serves. I think the listeners go to YouTube. I was going to say pronounce the name in a completely different manner, but the Czech player, Yvonne can edit this and he can just state her name. And Irani, the Italian, she's won every major playing doubles. Now she's won the Olympic gold. And their service motions really are dreadful, especially Irani. But I think that's where, kids that we work with, they have to realize that having solid technique is a major, major bonus, but it's only part of it. But, so Dave Schneider, he is connected. I can't forget Simon Earnshaw, the head coach, but the NC State, Dave Secker was really go-to person of that connection. So she's in the Olympic final. Then you got Rajiv Ram, who worked with Craig Tiley. And then we got Austin Krychek, who worked with Steve Denton. So that's kind of nice to, you're in the trenches working with little kids and, beginners. And then, but you're we're connected to people that can play. Um, here are some things I have down. Project Cami Clore. You mentioned her earlier. We're talking about brain typing today. She became your big buddy, and then you walk in the building, and Clore leaves the backboard, and I go, Clore, are you extrovert? Calling an 11-year-old by her last name. Clore, are you extrovert? Because we use Myers-Briggs. I said, soldiers don't leave their posts. Go back to the backboard. I mean, what's it been, 45 minutes since you've seen Melanie? You want to go say hello? But, I think just how you talk to the little kids. But I think you should circle back. And even with Lauren, don't pronounce her last name again? Littell. Lauren Littell. How is she doing with the practice log? How is she doing the routines? I think that you've met a lot of people. I don't think necessarily be opportunistic, but through Cami, you should definitely meet Matt Clore, and then get connected with Chris Clore. There's a large network of people that you can circulate with. Isabella, we had you play some practice points, to chart that. You got to make time. I think with the video that we shot today, if you went back and you told me you have those skills are skills that I don't have, is just do a split screen, your old forehand and your new forehand. And, that's things that you could share with players. I think more if you share that with players is when you're teaching them to teach. Okay, this is the way you play. This is the way you're programmed. You can get kids on the team to, just understand how the brain produces myelin, and the athlete's a biocomputer, and then they're programmed to do such and such.
Yeah, charting. That's been a great tool that I'm really excited to bring back. I was able to chart my match with Isabella, and without doing a deep dive yet into the information that I gathered from charting it, I realized I missed a lot of forehands along, and I think part of the reason is I shift my head. It's something that I still need to focus on and work on. There's obviously a lot of things I still need to work on. I've only been here a little bit of time, and I've had some drastic changes, but I think looking at those stats especially will help me continue to improve my game and continue to gain further insight on just how to give information to others.
Yeah, we're talking to Spencer Johnson. I don't know if this came up, but Max Cressy, we trained a young guy, Raleigh Grossbaum. He's the head coach at University of Idaho men's team. And Raleigh would have loved to have done it. Maybe it would have only been for the summer. It could have been full time. But to train, to Andy Fitzell and Matt Clore were not available to train or to travel full time. But to have matches be charted, that's one thing. But then also, what do you do having to cleanse your strokes, to practice afterwards? What routines do you do after you play a match? We tell the kids all the time, we're down to 10 now. It used to be 20. Go to YouTube, go to Tennis Channel, and just chart. And there's several ways to chart, but chart 10 points. How long does it take to watch 10 points? But that's where you have to get organized. You have that practice log. Okay, I did that. But we're talking never. And, then it comes down as like, well, you sound negative, you sound pessimistic, doom and gloom. But no, you just don't do what you're told to do. You chart to get the objective data on what to practice with. But also it's a matter of charting, we for years, and Jim Lair, I think, perfected it. He had a one sheet, because, he's in the business of writing books. He's written 17, 18 books. So he had a daily monitoring chart. I mean, even to the point, like how many cups of water, how many 8-ounce glasses of water if you had, how many times with sugar intake, how many phone calls do you make per week to set up matches? And it was so difficult to get juniors to, I think it's like doesn't even exist anymore, where juniors are actually calling up adults, setting up playing practice sets. with, but no, circling back to a practice log, you know, we were listening to the young South African Petrus Kukimore. That's not how he says it. But he sent us that tape with Roger Federer's birthday, August, the August Challenge. Federer born August 8th, 81. And he has a kid just with great enthusiasm, great technique, hitting 8 shots 8 times against the backboard, 8 forehand volleys, 8 forehand ground strokes, 8 two-handed backhand volleys, 8 two-handed backhand ground strokes, 8 one-handed volleys, 8 one-handed underspin backhands, 8 overheads, 8 serves. And, but just to show that to kids, and they could just tell the energy and the footwork and how he hit the ball. And I think it's so important to, that a lot of times people can only, if that, just see what's in front of them. Okay, well, who's in the group this week? In our program, 50 years into it, there's a lot of people that have gone, like say we have 16 players here right now. I think maybe 14 actually. 14 players, 2 coaches is, that's it. You look left, you look right. And it's like, well, okay, this is the group. But the world is a big place. The world is a big place. But no, you could take the college, or you could take the pre-post, the original film, we call the pre, then the post, and then that would be fun project. But that's also something too, like for yourself, you can scale it down, but to document development. You could with your team say, okay, let's just work on tosses. And, and I wouldn't be so much to say, okay, well, your toss is high. If you had to pick one of the 3, it's tough. And say, well, which dimension would you change? Your toss is too high, say it's a righty. Your toss is too far left, or your toss is too far back. It's almost like you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Is if you do get a kid to toss out in front, they're going to go to the right. When they toss over their head, it's going to be over their head and behind them. But certainly grip changes. We like to have people have the bottom part of your hand even with the bottom part of the racket. And if you change your grip up and down like this, that's really not a grip change, even though it feels uncomfortable. I tell juniors all the time, yeah, hate me now, love me later. Just make that change.
It's uncomfortable for like a week, I would say.
Yeah.
It's really not a big sacrifice.
And then but if you change your hand in the opposite direction, where you're actually changing the angle of the racket face because of the grip, that's a whole different ball game. Let's do a few things that we were always asked about drills. Tell us what would be a few favorite drills. We go categories. How about doubles? We'll start with doubles.
Doubles, definitely 1 bounce doubles. That's a big highlight.
1 bounce doubles. We tell people if we could have people do that 15, 20 minutes a day, save, serve, and volley doubles. Foam balls, we use different types of balls. We have some balls, touch tennis, some of the English tennis balls. I'm not a big fan of the red ball, but the foam ball, it's just, you can just have anybody hit with anybody and get a great workout. You can do it where it's 3 shots before you play the point out. So it's serve, return cross court, volley cross court, then play it out. It's just what we used to do with people or students, we'd say, okay, here's the list, here's the drill, 1 bounce doubles, give us, 10 different ways you could run the same drill. One would be that, you serve until you lose a point, the old volleyball scoring. Doubles to the middle, to the middle, to the middle. You can do it where the players are picking the balls up themselves and putting the ball in play. Just make a pile of 10 balls at one side of the net, 10 balls on the other side of the net. It's great if you have a coach on the sideline and the feed goes to the middle from the coach who introduces the ball. The ground stroke goes to the middle. The volleyers can't move in until the feed bounces. and their volley goes to the middle, and then you play it out. And then if the baseliners, the counterattackers, if they win the point, they run to the net. The people that held the net, lost the net, they have to go back and switch. I love scramble doubles, where a lot of times we don't do a lot of fun drills because we're working kids who can't hit the ball. I always tell people, I'm a pretty good feeder, but you won't see me feed balls until you can hit the ball. It makes no sense if someone has really bad technique and you're just going to put them through a workout. They're just running in circles. And if it's bad, it's bad. It's not going to get better. I love the line where you're getting better at getting worse, because the longer you go, the longer it's going to take. What else? Let's give us another drill.
Ghost doubles is a really good one.
Eddie Crass, go back and listen. Our podcast listeners, go back and listen to Eddie Crass. One-on-one doubles, okay, deuce court to deuce court. I was telling a coach just the other day that at one time I was working with 2 Swedish players, and we had a deuce court tournament. Everybody just, we're having challenge matches, deuce court to deuce court. And these 2 Swedish kids wouldn't serve and volley. They said, I know Sweden's never been in a war, but this could become a war. You have to serve and go forward. You can get to the point where, in a match, you could take a player and you have to adjust. And I don't like the word compromise, but you're going to serve and come in on the ball off the bounce, but you're definitely coming forward. Because they could have played 10 years of junior tennis before they get to college, and they're a one-up, one-back player. But with ghost doubles, honor the drill, serve and go forward. First time I ever saw that play, it was Madison Square Gardens. My brother was assistant coach in New York Rangers, and I watched Fru McMillan, a South African, Bob Hewitt, an Australian who moved to South Africa, didn't get along with Harry Hopman. And they're just deuce court specialists. So what usually happens is that, say, the deuce court player practicing with their practice partner, they just take the deuce court. With juniors, we say play both the right box and the left box. I remember telling my son on the tour, I said, why don't you just ask the person you're done hitting with, say, hey, let's just play 2 games of ghost doubles. With Alcaraz in the doubles, actually Steve Denton called me up and talked to me about that. He said that he'd been talking to Bryan brothers. And I think it was pretty apparent, look, on point number 1, right early on, right in the very beginning, Krajicek just nailed like 3 shots right at Alcaraz. You would never convince me that Alcaraz, as great as he is, he wouldn't be better by at least incorporating doubles drills. Just incorporating doubles drills in induced tennis. People look at tennis intelligence applied. Vic Braden's favorite drill is 1 player at one baseline, 1 player at the other baseline. We just call it rat-a-tat-tat. Also call it make your opponent look like a donut. Go right through their chest, and you just hit balls right at each other. And it's Vic used to say that's my favorite drill. If you do that, you're gonna be able to volley, no fear. Just go right at the other person, and it's coming back Mach 10. What else on drills? I see you have your notebook. We could go through a few things you have. And
there are plenty of drills to practice different formations while serving. So practicing motion doubles, server serves to your body and the partner shifts to the other side. And then you can have a feeder feed in, play the point out. And then, feed the ball to the opponent's volley and play the point out, and even feed in when the point ends again to keep it going.
No, it's great to hear you spend so much time with the content. With the other day, Yvonne had these girls from Texas, and he said, let me see you put the 5 targets on the court. And, one of the managers from the program, administrators, is here. And he's watching, and he goes, "This is great." 'Cause they didn't know where to put it. They were close, but close doesn't count. Yeah, they weren't that close. And I talked to the coach on the phone, and he said, "Oh, no, we do that all the time." I said, "No, they need to set the courts up." What happens in the U.S. is that the coaches set the courts up, and the players usually don't. It's like with the grip sticker. We say system. To us, it's a system on how you put grip stickers on the racket and numbers the grips. And you say, "Okay, you put the grip sticker on." And it's, people are just, juniors are just pretentious. Like, even coach, yeah, I know how to do that. Well, let's see you do it. And then there's obviously technique, everything. What else you have? We go drills, a couple more drills with anything from your notebook. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, so practicing shifting, just double shifting, just going where the ball goes with the instructor pointing which direction, hitting balls, and one player standing in front of the other, and teaching that you can only cover part of the court, so you have to give up the toughest angle for your opponent to pass. Just emphasizing the math of the court and the stats and just the geometry of everything, and learning good strategy while practicing these drills.
Today we did basketball, just one-on-one. One person's on offense, one person's on defense. Even without a basketball, it's better with the basketball because to make the kids athletic. That's really how people need to move all the time when they're playing points. Yvonne said he had an instructor who used to say this. Any questions? Any thoughts? Any concerns? Any suggestions? Any funny stories? But go ahead, Rob. What else? Anything you want to touch upon before we sign off here? With you've got neat penmanship.
Thank you. I try to keep all my notes organized because, like I mentioned to you once before, I want to take all my notes and organize them into a comprehensive type of playbook for tennis coaching. I want to have like the first section, the introduction, the dimensions of the court, and then some different common laws and themes, and then a whole section for drills, doubles drills, singles drills, volley drills, situational training, different things like that. And then probably end up having a section on mind vitamins. I have quite a few in here as well. But no, just being able to fill up this notebook this summer has been incredible. I try to write down everything I hear.
Yeah, comedians will keep files of jokes, and they will recycle, and they'll go to one joke, and they be able to spin it off to another joke. But buzzwords, phraseology. I think that's again what we're trying to do with our educational content is just help people where they can play the game better and they can teach the game better.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing system you have. Kids regulating kids. Like I said in the beginning, a 6-year-old was teaching me my very first introduction to this technique. Just it creates such a high level of understanding for the game, and it's a really special thing that you have going. Well,
the 6-year-old actually, there's he's been here maybe 7 or 8 times. It works out where his dad, they're on a mission. The kid, I'm pretty sure the kid's going to be a great player. Safe bet if they keep going the way they're going. But he comes back and it's like, whoa, we haven't seen you in 3 weeks, and what grip are you using? It's a huge deal. That's where we're telling tennis players all the time, you need to have a golfer's mentality. And with skills, if you don't use them, you lose them. And we did video today. The kids, well, it looks good, but you don't get the racket below the ball. If your ready position is close, your elbows aren't off your body. But we always say close it only counts in horseshoes. Because big brain, it counts in grenades if you're close. Okay. You don't have to be spot on. With organization. But no, I think to definitely not only take notes from a learning standpoint, but the experiences. Um, if we just went through a list, we've done that before. It's not like we want to talk about people, but I love Jim Lair's concept. He has a book titled "Storytelling for Mental Toughness." Is what's your story? What's the story of the day? And um, so much time is wasted. So much time is wasted with. But what else you want to share? It's been great to have you here, Michigander.
No, it's been amazing to be here, and not just only the tennis aspect of it, but I've gotten to do a lot of these airport runs, so I've gotten to speak with a lot of different people on the car ride, 1 hour car ride over from the airport. Gotten the privilege and honor to talk to some really good coaches and people who are really into the game and really into the GreatBase and have a lot of knowledge about it, who study on their own, and a lot of them have been inspirations to me to keep learning and to realize how much there is to it. And so that's been a really great experience as well. Besides just being on court, but I can say being here has been a really well-rounded experience. I've gotten to do a lot of different things.
One thing with the summer, Wintergreen's a beautiful place. It's an isolated tennis facility, underused, lots of court time. Beautiful setting. It's like we're teaching tennis in the forest. But so what we've done, or we've been here a little longer than a year, is just open calendar, revolving door. I think what we'll do now is consolidate weeks and do some more traveling. I do think that even though we can pull it off, but we need to do what they call in Tennis Canada regroupings, is have more compatibility with people should really come here with a practice partner. They were to come here with the person who they could practice with, who's at the same level. And it's one thing to tell people something, but if they were to just do it over and over and over again, it's like if you live it. Here are situational drills for competitive singles play, where it just forces you. We did that very quickly today. Okay, this young gal, okay. Just line up in the ad court. We'll feed a ball to your one-handed backhand, play an underspin approach shot, play it anywhere you want, and play the point out. Throw up a lob, let the ball bounce, underspin lob. You start at the net, you cross over, going back, hit the overhead up the middle. The person tries to counter where they don't have to lob twice, and play the point out. Hit a high arcing ground stroke. Person plays an approach volley out of the air and play the point out. So it's not just about technique, but with having creative practices. I think with college tennis, I think too many times, high school as well, is, okay, we'll go cross court, we'll go down the line, take a few overheads, and then we'll play some tiebreakers, singles and doubles. And then day after day, they're doing the same thing. And, build a drill. Coming back to when your sister was here, and again, if she could just make a couple changes, okay, this is the contact point. This is the moment of truth. Put your racket right where you want it on a forehand volley. Now, because the ball could be low, okay, use a composite grip, almost a continental. Now, as you go back, you can get it on 3. And then can you drive that ball as a conventional approach volley? And she's 6'1", but then she's got to develop the instincts at the net, the agility, almost being acrobatic. I think in talking to you were there during a lunch break with Dave Secker, your sister, who had a very good year as a freshman, won a bunch of matches. I remember Lauren was there and she was on her cell phone and gave her a hard time. And she's, well, you weren't talking to me about my game. I said, you don't understand. We're talking about the game. And, so she knows that, okay, she's going to be a lineup player. And you want to win. You have to produce for the college. You got to produce for the team. But, it's like Spencer Johnson. We were telling him, it doesn't matter. As long as you're playing 6, doesn't matter. Well, I want to play the tournament if I'm not in the top 6. But you say you want to play pro tennis, you know, you know, it's just amazing that people in the highest levels of tennis, they don't prepare to play Wimbledon. They don't on a year-round basis go, okay, I'm going to work on my all-court game, and the grass is not like it used to be, but still, nevertheless, is I'm going to be able to go forward. Like, it's like for years at Bollettieri's, they didn't use the clay courts, and one just to save people's joints. They will practice in the morning in the hard court, the clay in the afternoon, and vice versa. But if somebody wants to be a pro player, they should never skip the clay court season. They should play every season. And years ago, when the grass was so different, there's a lot of clay courters that wouldn't go to Wimbledon, a lot of grass court players that wouldn't go to the French. But yeah, so many things. The time goes by fast, but I think it was very good. I know you had been there before, right? You had been to the Raleigh before?
Yeah, once before.
Yeah, the kids, I think it's whatever it's called, the Fab. They have a little electronic gadget. They have a key to the building, and the building's only for players. And if they don't have a ball machine, I told your sister, ask, they will get one. And Russell Wilson, who won the Super Bowl, the quarterback, amazing athlete. He's at NC State. And they get a new football coach who comes in and tells him, hey, kid, you're our quarterback, but you're not playing baseball anymore. So he transfers to Wisconsin. But the story is, the legend, when he was at NC State, they have 4 indoor courts. Now they've made it where they have 4 full courts and 1 teaching court. One court doesn't have alleys. So it's a pretty big indoor space. He was in there every night throwing footballs, some receivers.
Amazing.
But that's where, the work ethic. If your sister wanted to play, she does. She wants to play pro tennis. But you're the big sister, and you've been here. Is that I would be the bad cop. You've met a lot of parents. You've heard a lot of conversations with parents. A lot of times, we went through that a little bit today, that the brain typing, opposites attract. Parents, the kids know that the mom is different than the dad. The dad answers questions one way, and the mom answers the same question a different way. And the kid becomes a master manipulator. But with your sister, it'd be the bad cop. Are you doing these routines? It's but yeah.
Yeah, I've been getting on her case, having her send me videos. Helps the both of us. It's a win-win.
Well, with that, we did a post video with her. 2 other juniors are in it. Again, the strength of the individual comes out, but the brain has, we always say 2 sets of motor programming, one with stress and one without.
Right.
And will she be able to hit that backhand volley? And will she, okay, I understand the stats. She doesn't have to just crash the net on everything, but with, she needs to be able to go toe-to-toe, the confrontation, red zone to red zone. But, it's pretty simple. We just go, okay, there's one player is going red to red. So that same player 1, they're going yellow to red. And then they're going green to red. Then you got to flip it. Well, on the other side, player 2, he's already gone, or she's already gone red to red. So then it's yellow to red, green to red. So you only have 5 confrontations. In singles, very few times is it yellow zone to yellow zone, and very few times is it green zone to green zone. And so she's got to get better and better in each zone. And with, she wants to get to the point on her service games, there's no way, Jose, that her opponent's going to be at the net. Mm-hmm. Indoor hard, outdoor hard, doesn't matter. Is, kill or be killed. And it's not this nonsense of, serve +1. I'm just going to hit a serve and tee off on a forehand. And then that's it. I don't have anything to back it up with. But you have to be the complete package. Why don't you wrap it up here for us, Melanie? Michigan Melanie, M&M's, Maryland. A lot of M's in the family.
Yeah, lots of M's.
Mama M.
No, I feel so blessed to have been here, surrounded by the knowledge of you and Yvonne, and um, thanks for putting up with all my questions. And I know Yvonne on court a lot. I get around to asking him a lot of questions. I see something and I ask right away, and he's been so great about explaining everything simply and slowly so that I can understand it. And no, it's just been an awesome experience. I feel so great about it. So just thank you guys so much for everything that you've done for me. Um, I can now say, I couldn't say 2 months ago that I am a student of the game and I'm all in to
All
learning.
a 1 versus a 2. Actually, make sure this doesn't this gets edited out. Is that we've actually paid her to be so kind to us, saying so many nice things. But no, the hours that we put in, it's just no days off. But again, it's not that we think that's the most ideal way to do it. I love to play sports movies. I think a much better way to run a camp is, okay, you come in on a Sunday, you check out on a Saturday, and you just have this one group. But what we've done for a long time is we've let people come anytime they want. And one of the reasons for that is over time, kids in a tournament. I talked to a dad today from Kalamazoo, and he's coming here as soon as his kid leaves. So we've done that. And, so then you make one decision like that, and then, okay, you get someone who's come from, we've had France and Austria and England and wherever. We've had people come from a long ways away just in the last few weeks, and say, well, yeah, we're only going to work 4 hours a day. It's like, no, it's tennis immersion. We got to go sun up to sun down. And one thing, when you're around the kids 24/7, when they do have a break, unfortunately, it's not very productive. It's not very productive. With they need to have an escape. Just today, girls here for the first day, and I said, "Hey, you fit right in. It's breakfast. You're not talking to anybody at the table. You're looking at your cell phone." To me, I'm an old person. That's just like having a newspaper, and you have the newspaper in front of you. You don't even say good morning to the person. It's just like no people skills. Talk to the person that you're with. But no, I think just end by saying this is that, one, it's been great to have you here too. I thank Dave Secker for recommending you to come.
Thank you, Dave.
You've been a big help. But I think the big thing is you got to work it. It's a language. It's the GreatBase. It's a system of systems. It's a language. It's the language of Vic Braden. It's the language of Dennis Vandermeer. I mean, Peter Burwash. And it's not just the 8 pillars. And you just know when you meet someone, with, I talk to people on the phone that I've never met before, and I know they know. And, there's these long podcasts, there's many people, they've listened to every podcast. And, that's where you hang in there, and it's like, okay, it's something I haven't heard before, but I don't really think that's the case. I think it's more, you're making the bridge stronger. You just keep, the message is, the nuts and bolts, the X's and O's just get reinforced. Last question I have is Michigan State or Michigan?
Michigan State. Both my siblings are Michigan State alum.
Michigan State, the Spartans. You can plug for Bill Ayres, the Amazing Racers, the cross-country coach. Spartan and stoic. Those 2 words go a long ways. I know I was in Michigan a short period of time, ran the campus. I mentioned that your alma mater, and play lightning ball and say, okay, you this team, we'll count off 1 and 2. The 1s, you're Michigan State, and the 2s, you're Michigan. And the people are arguing, I don't want to play for Michigan State. I want to play for Michigan, or vice versa. I was in the old Joe Louis for a Michigan State hockey game. I've never been on the Michigan State campus, but been on the Michigan campus. First thing I did, I think it's Yoshi. First thing I went to the hockey arena. I was there to watch one of our students was coaching Illinois. But Michigan, the the Detroit Tigers, the Detroit Red Wings, Detroit Lions. Which
Go.
one? All three?
Oh, all three. Yeah, yeah. I'm a big baseball and football fan though.
With Mark Fidrich, passed away. They called him the Bird. Everybody in America was watching this guy pitch. He played for Detroit. With I was hoping this year, and I don't really follow football. I love football. I think all tennis kids should understand football to understand tennis. Offense, defense, control the line of scrimmage, fumble. It's a fumble. You know, if a football player runs through the line of scrimmage with one hand on the ball, all 100,000 people are going crazy. They know they have to hang on to the ball this way. People don't have that type of basic understanding in tennis. But I think it was a quarterback from the Rams. He was let go or he was traded, and the Rams ended up winning a Super Bowl. But Detroit was knocking on the door this year with a quarterback that was traded. So I was kind of hoping, all right, it's been a while since they've been on top. If they have been, I don't even know. Although, why don't you look this up? Alex Karras, Paper Lion, George Plimpton, a great writer. He did a little bit of everything, but he went through the Detroit Lions preseason. He trained with the Lions as a quarterback. He played like 4 downs, and but Alex Karras, he's passed away too. But he played for the Detroit Lions. He was in the movie Blazing Saddles. Funny guy. But anyway, Michigan. Hats off to Michigan. And where's Vic Braden from?
Michigan. Where in Michigan is it? It's
Monroe, Michigan.
Monroe.
Michigan. Where would we be without Vic Braden? But Melanie, give me the high five. All right, so many things we could go over, but I hope everybody got something out of this. But thanks for being part of the podcast, Melanie.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Oh, no problem. And signing off, adios amigos.